Well, good morning, Mary Ann.
Good morning, Jody.
You are one in a series of our interviews with former members of the congregation. Many of our sisters will remember you as Mary Ann Trauscht, and many more will remember you as
Sister Henry Mary.
Sister Henry Mary. Was that a name from your mother and father?
It was a name from my father, but my mother's name was Grace, and there was already a Grace Henry and a Henry Grace. So I asked for Henry Mary.
Henry Mary. And that really stuck, didn't it?
Yes.
Yes. The Trauscht name was already known in the congregation.
Yes. I have had two cousins that were members of the community. Sister Geralda, who is her religious name, Marie Trauscht. Sister Armella, her name was Frances or Franny Trauscht. And they were daughters of one of my father's oldest brothers. My dad was the youngest of 13, and my Uncle Frank was, I don't know where he came, maybe the fourth oldest, fifth oldest, something like that. Mm-hmm. So they were in the convent a long time before I even knew they existed.
Mm-hmm. Had you met them along the way, though?
I met them fairly
when you were young.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. They were on a home visit.
Mm-hmm. You're a graduate from one of our sponsored schools, aren't you?
Yes, I went to, in the family, my older sister had polio, and it was difficult for her to get around. I mean, she could walk, but so she wanted to go to Marywood in Evanston, and the sisters there were afraid to take her because of her condition, that she might fall. And Marie and Fran were home on a visit, and my mother were telling them, about what had happened with Grace, and they said, we have a school in St. Charles, and we're sure the sisters would take her. And so they went out the next Sunday and met Sister Dolores, and I don't know who else. Sister Dolores was the principal at the time, and they said yes, they would take her. So she went to the Mount. So when it was
a boarding school.
A boarding school on the Fox River in St. Charles. Beautiful location. And so when it came time for me to go to high school, I, of course, could not go to where the sisters had not taken my Sister Grace. And so I went to the Mount and loved it. Loved every minute of it.
You got a very good education, did
I
you
did,
not?
yes.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Well, my favorite teacher was Sister James Margaret.
Oh.
She was junior homeroom teacher, and she taught secretarial courses. But it was, I think it was in our junior year, we were in her dormitory, and she was just a wonderful person.
James Margaret Cullen.
I didn't know what her last name was.
Yes.
And then another very good teacher was Sister Margaret Phillip, entirely different personality. Mm-hmm. I have varying memories of her, but there was no doubt that she was an excellent teacher, excellent English teacher, so much so that when Sister Maria Riley, who she and I were very good friends, when we entered the community, we had both had a year of college, and so we went into English, which was English Lit, as postulants, and every question that was asked or anything that came up, we already knew it. And everybody, I remember after a while, because our hands were always up, they were ready to kill us, the rest of the people in the class. We weren't too popular.
So you both entered at the same time?
Exactly. Yes. Unknown to one another. I mean, she had gone down to Barry, and I had gone to Mundelein because of my sister, and I wanted to enter the community, and finally said, I thought to myself, I'm going to go to my father. I'm not going to ask him to go. I'm going to tell him I'm going. And however, it worked out. He said he knew that what his response to me was, well, you're not happy, so go.
Oh my, how beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Maria and I planned, neither one of our parents wanted to drive us here. So one of her brothers volunteered. So the plan was to meet on Route 14 and 59. out in one of the burbs.
Exactly.
Because she was coming from Crystal Lake and I was coming from Skokie. And so we arrived there first and waited and waited. I was ready to scream, because it was very tense in the car. My mother wouldn't come with me. She was so upset. But my 3 sisters, were in the back seat. And so they finally arrived. So we got, we get in the car and we drive and drive and drive. There was no highway. I mean, there was a highway, but there was no interstate. And we stopped in South Bend for dinner, a place that Bob knew about. So, of course, we killed about an hour and a half or 2 hours of time. So by the time we arrived in Adrian, it was 5 o'clock, and everybody...
Nobody around?
Nobody around. And just the sister who was at the desk. And we were looking at one another. She didn't know what to do with us. And we're kind of, here we are with our little black suitcases. And Bob had left.
Did you have your black outfit
No, we
on?
didn't have the outfits on. We were in our secular clothes. And all of a sudden, Sister Edmonds swooped around the corner on us. Oh, girls! So she took us into a room where we could change into our postulon outfits. And then we went down the hall and met Mother Gerald, and then she put our veils on us. Everyone else was already down in the refectory having dinner. So that was our introduction.
Yeah, your introduction. We just interviewed one of the sisters here on campus, and she said there are about 11 from your crowd that are here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is quite amazing. What is your age now, Marianne?
I'm 88.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been away from the how old were you when you left?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think I was in my early 40s.
Mm-hmm. And while you were an Adrian Dominican vowed woman, what was one of your favorite ministries?
Well, I was a teacher, and at first I taught in elementary school, and then I was sent to Regina High School, and I really enjoyed teaching there. It was actually, my youngest sister was a junior there, but we never saw one another because my first couple of years there, I was teaching freshmen and sophomores. My second freshman and sophomore first year, then sophomore, junior, and I taught English and speech and drama, and Sister Marie Dorothy was the head of the speech and drama department, so I worked with her. And it was really enjoyable working with her, and she would be on the musical, she would be doing all the blocking and where everybody was going to be and on the stage, and then I would take individuals out who needed coaching on their lines, and I'd go out into the lobby of the auditorium and do that. So I enjoyed that.
Was that Sister Dorothy Brown?
No, yeah, no, it was
that's okay.
Kappelman. Her last name was Kappelman.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also did. They would have in the Chicago area. They had forensic tournaments among the parochial schools, so we would go. Saturdays were pretty common to go for. We take a team of 10 for the different forensic areas. And
was Nancy Murray ever part of that group?
Nancy never did any acting when she was there. She always stuck with the stage crew.
Oh.
But she took I had her in freshman homeroom. Mm-hmm. I had her and religion class, and so I had contact with her, but I did not.
Did you ever have Mary Jo Potter?
Yes, I had Mary Jo Potter. Mary Jo was in. I had the top. They were grouped. The classes were grouped according to abilities, and I had Mary Jo. She was in the top class for English. I think it was sophomore and junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And
Donna Markham?
I didn't have Donna, but when her senior year, she was on the yearbook staff, and Sister Richard Mary, Sister Margaret Mary Hines, and I were moderators for the yearbook. And so we kind of divided the work. I took care of the part of the crew worked on the layout for the yearbook, and the other half was working on the group was working on the writing. So Sister Margaret Mary,
Yes. Mark Hines.
Mark Hines would do the writing part, and Donna worked with them. And I did the layouts. But I knew Donna, because we were all in one room, So, but
How many years were you at Regina?
5 years.
Wonderful.
And then I was sent to Aquinas
Aquinas in Chicago.
in Chicago and taught there for 2 years. And then I was sent to Montini High School out in Lombard. And I was there 1 year. And then Sister Rita Marie, that was at the point where they decided that we could choose where we wanted to go. But I really didn't feel, nobody actually felt like they could really choose yet. And so Sister Rita Marie called me and she said, "Sister, would you be willing to go to St. Joseph Academy?" And I thought, I've only been at Montini 1 year, and I had been sick, and there were a lot, anyway. It was difficult, and so I said yes, reluctantly.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got the appointment, I wasn't sent to Montini. I was sent back to Regina, and I was pretty upset at that point because it was difficult to go back to Regina. I had wonderful memories, and then it was a new principal, a new faculty, it was like going to a new place that you had never been before, but you actually had. So it was very hard to go back.
You were fortunate to be in the Chicago area, though, because
Yes.
of your mother and father.
Yes, I was quite surprised when I was sent to Regina initially. I thought it was a mistake, and that when they found out I would be changed.
Because that wasn't what happened.
No, I just was left there, and I was really shocked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in the 40-some years since you left the congregation, my summary would be you really never did leave. I mean, there's something inside you that is so Dominican, Mary Ann. Would you agree?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I feel very close to people.
Yeah. And you've been very active in the Chicago area of bringing former members together.
Yes, we did. We haven't been very good the last couple of years because people are getting older.
Yes.
And it's more difficult. Some of them, their husbands died. Some of them have been sick. Transportation, just getting to the different places became more difficult. So the last 2 years, we've only gotten together once, I think. But we had been getting together maybe twice a year, and people really enjoyed it.
Who are some of the women that have been part of that group just to name a few names?
Well, Dot Dempsey is, not Dot, I think Dot Dempsey's in the community,
Yes,
isn't she?
yeah.
It's Deanne, her sister Deanne,
Mm-hmm.
and her husband died within the year or so ago. And she's not been well either.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see.
Liz?
Liz likes them very much.
Mm-hmm.
Liz and I were the one, we were coming back from Adrian. We'd been here for something. And Joan Evatt had started a group here in Adrian, and we were driving back to Chicago, and we said, well, there's so many in the Chicago area, and it's hard for some people to get to Adrian. Maybe it would be a good idea to get together in Chicago. So she actually hosted the first meeting, and at the first meeting, I think we had about 16 people.
Oh my. Was Maureen Rogers ever a part of it?
Yes, she was.
Mm-hmm.
And then she hasn't been well
Yes.
the last year. She hasn't come the last few years. And, this is terrible.
That's okay. That's okay. Eventually, the group formers meeting was called Crossthreads, correct?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
when Joan, they got together,
Mm-hmm.
one of the women had the idea of weaving a little thing they would bring to the meetings. She was with ribbons, and one direction I don't remember what they represented. One direction was the group, and another direction was, So it was a very good idea that we all are part of this cross-pollination, so to speak.
Yes, yes. It's wonderful, though, to come together like that, isn't it? Because of the shared values
Yes.
and the experience of
Yes.
of Adrian, which somehow magically just does not leave souls.
That's very true. And what would happen initially, the meetings, we would be talking about our experiences in the community and what it meant to us. And then, so that was a part of it.
Yeah. And you've had many medical challenges in your lifetime, haven't you?
I have. When I was first professed, I sent to Bronxville, New York, and it was in December, we were the December crowd, and I traveled into New York with Marcine Clem, and
we had a convent in Bronxville.
Yes, there was a convent, and she had just made final profession, and she was returning. And then also Sister Simon Peter,
Winnie
Lynch was traveling back to Buffalo, and the train broke down in Canada. Everybody was very angry on the train because they weren't going to make it to Buffalo for New Year's Eve. But we had a great time on the train because Winnie entertained Marcine and myself with stories the whole time. I was sick with laughter, really. I was laughing so hard. So Marcine and I arrived in Bronxville then in New York City at Grand Central Station. It was morning, and Marcine called Sister, getting really bad with names. She had been the former...
That's okay.
Okay. To tell her that we weren't going to make it to Bronxville for Mass. So we went to this Mass at a church across from Grand Central Station. We had just had this beautiful liturgy at Holy Rosary Chapel for Profession the morning before. And you come away with this kind of aura, And we walk into this church, and they were distributing communion during the entire Mass. People were coming. There was nonstop movement. It was just awful.
Chaotic.
Yes. So, but anyway, we made it. We took the train out to Bronxville, and the sisters met us, and I really enjoyed my time. I was only there 6 months. Then in the summertime,
Did you get sick while you were in Bronxville?
Oh, well, yes. I was there a week, and I came down with tonsillitis.
Oh, my.
And my tonsils were in really bad condition. So when the doctor saw me, he said they need to come out. So the arrangement was made that they would come out during Easter week, so I'd have time to recover at the beginning. So it was actually a Good Friday that I went in and they removed the tonsils. And I woke up in the OR, and I heard the anesthesiologist, who was the father of one of the second grade boys, and the surgeon, who was the father of another second grade boy that I taught. The anesthesiologist said, she needs blood. And so they asked the nurse, and she read the chart. She's O positive. Only I knew I was O negative because I had donated blood when I was in my freshman year in college. And so I was rolling my eyes at them, but you're strapped down on the table, and they're not paying attention to you. So they, started the blood, and then I kind of fell asleep again. And when I came to, they were taking me back to the room, and I could see the dripping, and that the blood was half gone. I thought, well, there's no point in saying anything now. And so I got back, and of course I was very groggy. And so then I woke up, I was in bed, and Sister Bryan, who was a dear, was sitting with me. She was sitting over by the window, and she could tell I was restless, and she used to call me Kid, and she'd say, Kid, go back to sleep. And I said to her, I can't, something keeps waking me up. So she got up and she walked over and she looked at me and she says, oh my God, Kid, you're all broken out in welts. I had hives from the wrong blood.
Oh my.
So she yelled for the nurse, and the nurse came and gave me a shot of adrenaline, and that took care of it, I thought. But evidently the fact that I had gotten this blood gave me hepatitis.
Hepatitis C.
C.
Wow.
Only it stays, I found out later, that it stays dormant in your body for a long period of time, and then suddenly it will activate. So at some point it did activate, and that's when I got sick and ultimately had to have a liver transplant.
Mm-hmm. Which was successful.
Yes.
Yes.
And you visited me in the hospital.
Yes, yes, I do remember.
When I was waiting for it, I
Yes.
think.
Yes. You you were your profession when you were involved in after you left the congregation was in technology, wasn't it?
Yes. I kind of fell into it. I got a job as a, well, because of my writing background, I think initially, I got a job as a technical writer at the first company I worked for, and their product was they would help large companies put all of their, because people were converting to computers, they would put all their paperwork, they were putting it onto computers. So I would go and teach them how to do that, so one of the, like I went to Delta Airlines, was one of the big companies we did, and Chilton Books, and most people haven't heard of Chilton, but it's a large company that does like telephone books and things of that nature. So I went to Pennsylvania to teach them that. So I was with them about 3.5 years, and then decided to leave. I won't go into my reasons, but I found another job with also a technical company, and what they did was write, they built software for large companies, and they had different sections. They had manufacturing information, what's called the supply chain, and also the, escapes me, whatever. But there were 3 areas.
You lived right in Chicago, didn't you?
I lived in Chicago.
And you were close to the culture, because I know you love drama, and
Yes.
you could see the musicals in the plays. But you were also very involved in your church, I would imagine.
Well, initially I asked what church I belonged, what parish I was in, and they said Holy Name Cathedral. Well, it wasn't a church that you could really get involved with the people very much. And after I'd been there a while and they had changed pastors, I asked around, was there another parish? And I found out there was a smaller parish. It was actually 2 parishes combined. They were in the process of combining them, St. Joseph and Immaculate Conception.
So you volunteered there?
Yes, I became a lector. I sang in the choir. And then the last few years I was there, we had gotten a new pastor, and the previous pastor had conducted a scripture class. And the new pastor didn't seem inclined to do that. And people were kind of grumbling, we want a scripture class kind of thing. And I thought, well, we can do this, So I found there's a priest that has like a whole series of lectures on the Old Testament and the New Testament. So we did it on a Saturday morning, and we'd have about 15 to 20 people who would come. And there were some discussion questions that came along with videos. And then another woman, and I snagged in another woman, and we would, discuss it, see it beforehand, discuss it, and make up additional questions that would, get people involved because of, our own ideas and our own situations. And so we did that. So we did it for about 2 years. So I think they're still continuing it.
I must say before we end, Mary Ann, that I appreciate your presence anytime you come to campus, and I know you're staying over at Weber now, and Sister Diane Odette is overseeing your schedule.
Yes,
but you've been able to visit sisters
good.
from your crowd, which
Yes.
is wonderful, because it's a memory time.
Mm-hmm. It's
But,
very delightful for me.
Thank you for your presence and your commitment to the Adrian Dominicans, because I know you are an active donor, plus an active prayer. I know you pray the office, and you are active, maybe less active now because of age, in contacting and networking with with people. So thank you for that. And is there anything you'd like to say before we bring this to a proper close?
Well, I'll cry.
Yes, yeah. That's all right.
No, I love all the sisters.
Yes. Yeah. And you are loved. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.